Joining me now is an aviation consultant, Tayo Ojuri. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Now, recently there were reports that foreign airlines were shunning Nigeria's airspace over safety concerns. But before we look at the implication of that, what really constitutes airspace safety?
It's what the issue really is the lack of infrastructure and the challenges with the communication and with the performance-based navigation and navigational aids with the air safety provider, navigational service provider. But with this challenge, obviously, they chose to go with the alternative, which is we have a huge airspace, but the other countries around us provide better service. And the airlines are focused on cost efficiencies, which is why they chose the better option.
So what is the implication of this now with foreign airlines shunning Nigeria? What is the implication with regards to revenue generation?
Well, that was I would say the first implication is the safety aspect, but NAMA has come out to reassure us that they have actually taken steps to actually ensure that best in place navigational aids have been deployed. They have a plan in place to actually upgrade the systems. And most of all, obviously, like you rightly said, the cost implication, we are actually seeing a reduction in NAMA's revenue. And with that reduction, it's going to affect their costs because they're a self-generating agency in their own. But what should be done is not just addressing, identifying the issue, is being able to actually ensure that the infrastructure is upgraded to best in line with best international practice. When
you say upgraded, what would you expect?
Well, the navigational aids, the department-based navigational aids, we're looking at the communication because a big issue is the blind spots. Where on the south side, we're covered with the ocean. So there's the oceanic airspace, which needs lots of cost and investment. So with that, it's been able to either upgrade or what you call strategic alliances, either with Accra or ASECNA, which is the airspace service provider within the French countries that border Nigeria.
Now, the government in response is saying that it is restructuring the airspace to end the challenge. What does it mean? What does it mean to restructure the airspace?
Prior to this time, looking at 1994, we had the airspace is based on structure. There's the Kano FIR, there's the Lagos FIR, Port Harcourt FIR. So it's looking at, now that we have those black spots, black holes in those spaces, it's being able to sectorize those spots and say this sector so that you're able to actually regionalize that sector and provide enhanced service to that sector rather than have 2-3 sectors that are lots of blind spots in it.
All right, Tayo Ojuri, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.
It's always a pleasure.
Joining me now is an aviation consultant, Tayo Ojuri. Tayo, it's good to have you join us right now.
It's always a pleasure.
Now, we heard the news that foreign airlines are looking forward to the possibility of diverting away from Nigeria due to safety issues and all of that. Now, paint the picture, make us understand how bad is the situation where foreign airlines are threatening to bypass or boycott Nigeria when it comes to airspace safety.
Well, you did mention that they're thinking of they've actually started doing it. British Airways and NAMA, the Nigerian Airspace Management agency had actually said they are going, the British Airways going to Cape Town has actually indicated that they're taking an alternative route. Why so? It's just because of the serviceability of the systems, the navigational aids, and a lot of communication deficiencies within our airspace. So what that actually does for NAMA, it reduces the cost, or it reduces their revenue, and they're financially and self-sufficient at this time, which is...
all right, paint a picture for us, for the average, for those who are not experts in aviation to understand. I want to travel to Abuja, for instance. I want to fly to Abuja, for instance, or maybe fly to Ghana from Lagos or from anywhere. And as a passenger, certainly we won't know all of these things. But as a pilot, you know, okay, there are issues here and there. Paint a picture for us. What is that safety issue if you're flying?
Well, it's just you have charts and road reporting points and navigational aids which aid your air travel. So as you take off, you're reporting to tower that you're departing this point. You put a flight plan in place telling where you're going, and you have reporting points. And if you're an external, if you're coming in or overflying, you have reporting points. So in the instance whereby once, like the pilot rightly said, when you're going from Lagos to Abuja, once you exit Lagos airspace, 100, 200 nautical miles out of Lagos, there's a black spot whereby you cannot hear Lagos, which you should know what's happening within the airspace.
Right.
We should know what your separation levels are, who's around you.
Okay.
So the issue is not that reporting point, the communication gap. It's a huge infrastructure deficiency.
So as you travel, you should be able to communicate with Lagos. And the moment you leave Lagos nautical space, you should connect to Abuja immediately.
Exactly.
Okay.
And being able to tell weather is a huge factor in the flight.
Okay.
So weather changes, as well as your alternate and destination weather, is being able to tell the pilot, say, okay, this is what's happening. These are what the challenges in the airspaces. So it would actually ensure smooth, seamless operations, which is a huge part of safety.
So what would it take to have this connectivity back on? Is it internet? Is it broadband? Is it what? Radio communication? Is it a gadget? Is it equipment?
Obviously, it's communication, it's equipment. Okay. What NAMAR said they've done is they've actually gone with the performance-based navigational equipment deployment. But what the domestic airlines are seeing the gap whereby the system is GPS based, whereby most of the domestic operators are the aircraft is not configured that way yet. Okay. So which is still the normal radio communication.
So will you advise we fly or we should go by road?
It's the safest.
Let's know now.
It's still the safest means of transportation. And like Nama rightly said, safety is still forefront. Are they just folding their arms, not doing anything? They understand what the challenges are, which is the good thing.
Personally, one challenge we in fact, as passengers,
yes,
you go to the airport sometimes, or some of the airports sometimes, and they are announcing a flight for a place, and you're like, sorry, what are they saying? You can't even hear what they're saying properly on the public address system. Shouldn't that be part of the issue too? Well,
that's communication within the airport terminal itself. It's different from the radio communication for tower. They're designated radio links and they're channels, which when you tune to, you're able to speak to tower depending on your route. But within the terminal itself, it's a function of getting the right equipment and the right intonation for the announcer, because some are just maybe the start of it, they're having a crappy day, and that's what's going to affect how they speak on the radio.
How they speak.
And
now, I wonder what it would take to have this upgrade or this restructuring or this replacement of these gadgets.
It's
budgetary, or it's within the NAMA jurisdiction or expenses to have all of those things done?
It's budgetary. They've identified what the challenges are. Okay. Otherwise, with that challenge being identified, is now being able to put the right infrastructure in place. They've started deploying. Calibration is being done, navigational aids and but obviously there's the TRACON project has been upgraded.
All right.
So it's been able to actually ensure that there's this optimal use of this equipment.
All right, Tayo Ujiri, thank you so much for letting us know. At least we have assurance we can still fly.
Please keep flying.
Thank you very much.
Joining me now is an aviation consultant, Tayo Ujiri. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Good morning. Now, one question that comes to mind is, how did we get here to the extent that foreign airlines are beginning to, shun Nigeria's airspace?
How did we get here? It's a challenge of other sectors. What is affecting Nigeria as a country as its time? And it's just not peculiar to the Airspace Management Agency. It's peculiar. It's something we see within even our airport systems. So it's the challenge within the system, but it's identifying what the challenge is, which is the safety bypassing our airspace due to the black spots, due to the navigational challenges, and obviously due to serviceability issues. How does this now in fact impact us in terms of safety and sustainability? It's NAMA has come out to identify that they have identified and highlighted these issues and said they are addressing it. specifically with the deployment of navigational aids and a time frame of the calibrations are being done, as well as obviously the communication gaps are being addressed with the sectorization.
How long will it take to, as a consultant now, from your experience, how long will it take to address these issues? Because it is of concern. People travel every day. It's a concern to most Nigerians.
It's a concern. Obviously, they've actually showed the sectorization is one part where rather than having two sectors, you're actually having lots of sectors whereby with the sectorization now, you now have communication gaps being identified. That's one issue. The navigational aids as well. And obviously the pending projects. We have lots of pending projects. We have the Track-On project. We have all the other projects that they're still outstanding. They've actually identified how they're going to fast track those projects so that it actually mitigates the risks.
Now, what are the risks involved with this now?
The risk that it involves with obviously is being able to fly at any time and with weather issues. That's a big risk. When you're unable to fly especially in bad weather, due to communication gaps, it obviously affects flight operations. And the pilot, it actually affects the cost of operations as well.
Right.
Because it has a domino effect, not only on that operation, it has a domino effect on other operations, ground operations, ground handling, and other parts of the aviation ecosystem.
So it's best not to fly at this time then?
No, it is. You can, like I've always reiterated, it's still the safest and fastest means of transportation. And it's actually, you find out that there are gaps and the measures have been put in place to address these issues. Right. The NCA, as the regulator, has in place to ensure that these are followed so that we actually still have a high safety environment.
All right, aviation consultant Tayo Juri, thank you for your time.
It's always a pleasure. Keep flying.
Thank you.